Hi, this is Michael Buffer, and welcome to the BoxHard Podcast.
Hello, everyone. This is Mikey Garcia.
It's the monster from the swamps, Regis Rougarou Prograis.
Hey, what's up? This is King Carlos Molina, former IBF World Champ.
This is Michael, the Bounty Hunter, 2012 Olympian and your people's champ.
This is Charlie Edwards, flyweight champion of the world.
This is Fast Eddie Chambers, and you're listening to the BoxHard Podcast with my main man, Joey Coastman.
Hello everybody and welcome to episode 237 of the BoxHard Podcast. I'm your host Joey Coastman. I'm joined this week once again by the undefeated heavyweight / cruiserweight prospect, the man himself, Mr. Hasim Jr. Hasim Jr, welcome back on the show. How are you?
Joey, thanks for having me again, man. I'm fine. I'm doing real good. Thanks for having me again on the show.
No, it's my pleasure, absolutely. It's pretty much our show now, so you're like a piece of furniture now. Moving on to the two subjects we're going to discuss on this week's show. Another two subjects that were suggested by Hasim Sr, the former two-time heavyweight world champion. So the two topics, I mentioned it on last week's show, those topics being, should fighters who have tested positive for PEDs be allowed in the Boxing Hall of Fame? And then we're going to follow up with the second topic being, should the only way you fight for a title be if you beat a top 5 ranked contender? Let's start with topic number one, Hasim. Should fighters who have tested positive for performance enhancing drugs be allowed in the Boxing Hall of Fame? In short, no. In short, no. However, it's such a crazy sport, with a lot of different regulations. It's unlike any other sport really, because all different commissions have got their rules. It's a worldwide sport. Anyone can box anyone. It's very different to the likes of I guess soccer, and I'm guessing probably American football, stuff like that, because these teams don't play other teams in a totally different part of the world very often. But in boxing, we're seeing guys box over here, British guys box guys from Nicaragua, from anywhere, from China, all over the world. So it's a very hard sport to kind of to manage, because a lot of these different countries, commissions, organisations, sanctioning bodies have all got different rules. There's no universal rules like there are in many other sports. That's a good and bad thing at times, but when it comes to this topic here in particular, it's hard to say, because there's a lot of guys that are under serious question. There's a lot of guys that would have been popped if the organisations were a lot stricter when it comes to drug testing and stuff like that. Over here in the UK, it's very, very hard to get away with those PEDs in your system, because the UK anti-doping do a fantastic job over here. But in places like Mexico, in places like the US, stuff like that, in other countries, it's not ran as good as it should be. And like I say, boxing's such a tough sport. It's all season round as well. It's such a hard sport to keep a lid on. And for that reason, Hasim, I mean, we can't really sit here and be judges and say we think that guy juiced, so he shouldn't go in. At the end of the day, it's all about if he actually did pop or not. And if that's the question, then again, there are some brilliant fighters that have popped over the years, and you kind of think, would they have been as good if they didn't? If they weren't on the juice? Probably not, but it's hard to know either way. But if it was any other sport, I think the answer would be a flat out no. It reminds me of Lance Armstrong in cycling, so it's a tough one. But if I had to say yes or no, I think if you've been popped, you probably shouldn't deserve to end up in the Boxing Hall of Fame, which is a tremendous achievement, but you don't really get nothing from being on that list. Your name goes down in the history books, but if you've won a world title for juicing, your name's still in the history books. It doesn't get scrubbed out of there. A lot of interesting talking points on it, Hasim. What's your take?
My take, I think that if you get caught using steroids, I think that you definitely shouldn't be allowed in the Hall of Fame. I think that there should be that's definite. I mean, if you get caught using, then you're out of the running for the Hall of Fame, because these people who are in the Hall of Fame, to our knowledge, were not using performance-enhancing drugs. But with that being said, I would say, like we talked about last week, you would probably have to get popped more than once, I think, to disqualify yourself from the Hall of Fame, because of things like things outside of the actual fighter's ability. But for the most part, my answer would be no. You shouldn't be allowed in the Hall of Fame if you've been caught using any type of steroids, any type of performance-enhancing drug.
Yeah, so we're in agreement pretty much on that. But like I say, it's such a wild sport. Boxing is like no other, and it's very hard to contain everyone under the same jurisdictions, because it's not that kind of sport. Like I said, the season for boxing doesn't end. It's all year round. It's universal, and any boxer from anywhere can box any boxer from anywhere, any place, any time. It's just it's crazy old sport, and that's why we love it so much. Should the only way you fight for a title be if you've beaten a top 5 ranked contender? I've got to be honest, when we talk about these and we discuss these topics, I never look at the questions and think before I start the show. I just literally wing it a little bit, and perhaps that's a downfall of mine. But this time here with that particular question, I thought of it just a couple minutes before we went live, and it kind of popped in my head. There's an interesting element here, because obviously in the top 5 ranked contenders, there's usually a different, not always, but usually there's a different 5 for the WBA, different 5 for the WBO, IBF and WBC. So it'd be hard to, well, I take that back. I guess if you're fighting a top 5 contender, it's got to be within that same sanctioning body where the champion is that you'd end up fighting. So that was obviously what was meant. It's difficult, really, because I like the system that's in place at the moment where, you know, you've got to fight a top 15 guy, whether you're defending your title for a mandatory defense or a voluntary defense. It's got to be a top 15 guy. I think that's fair enough. But beating a top 5 guy, I feel like it's harder, or it's easier, I should say, to avoid guys that aren't in the top 15 if you're a champion. Whereas, because you've got a belt, you know, everyone wants a belt. But I think those guys ranked in the number 2, 3, 4, and 5 spots, I feel like they've got a lot to lose boxing a big risk guy. You know, there's many boxers out there. You know, you're probably going to see yourself as one, Hasim. You know, who wants to fight you? Who's ranked number 1, 2, 3, or 4 or 5? You know, they give you a shot there. There's a lot to lose and everything to gain for yourself. So it's easier for those guys to avoid you. It's easier for them to avoid you than the actual champion themselves in some ways, you know? Yeah,
that would, my take on it would be I don't agree with that, just because of, like you just said, it would make getting a title fight even that much harder, because the top 5 guys would know, okay, well, I'm in line for my title shot. I'm in the top 5. So I'm going to just keep my top 5 position secure. I'm not going to let the number 6 guy, the number 7 guy, the number 8 guy even get a shot, because I'm up here. Why would I give him a shot to take my spot? And I know that, well, I think that there's been many upsets where a guy didn't beat a guy in the top 5. For example, Andy Ruiz just came off a win with what was his name?
Dimitrenko.
The tall Dimitrenko. He just came off the one with Dimitrenko, who wasn't in the top 5, and then knocked out the number 1 guy all around the board. So maybe if it was a top 10 contender, if you had to beat a top 10, I would see that, because it'd be pretty hard for 10 different people in the sanctioning body to avoid you. But if you're and looking at just to get one of those top 5 guys, man, those guys can avoid you, not answer calls, just wait around for their title shot. So I would say I would disagree, and then I would say if it was top 10, you got to be the top 10 guy to get a title shot. That sounds more, it sounds more realistic, something that will work a little better.
Yeah, and I just want to add a couple more points to that. We're both in agreement once again there, but you can just imagine these sanctioning bodies bringing out some kind of belt, like a number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4 belt, just to make a bit more money for their own organisations. You know, you could imagine, I'm fighting this guy for the number 5 ranked belt. You could just imagine that being a thing, which would be horrible. Actually, we don't need any more belts. But another thing, you know, you mentioned there about beating even a top 10 guy. You know, we know how boxing is, and you don't necessarily always have to be the 10th best or the 9th or 8th best in the world to be there. You know, you can get into the top 15 rankings and in line for a world title shot two ways, really, from having a very good promoter, from having a promoter with a lot of money. There's all sorts of rumours there, you know, a lot of people have kind of paid their way to get in the rankings. And obviously by winning some of these belts, which they're like regional belts that don't really mean you're the best in that region. You know, for example, there's a lot of guys that are WBO European champions. They haven't boxed anyone from the States, and those guys are ranked, you know, right up there in the world. You know, and they're in line for a shot. So there's two ways to get in that top 10, and even that top 10 is a bit hit and miss, really, in a lot of people's opinions, you know?
Yeah, and mine is included in that. I mean, if you just look at the sanction bodies and look at their top 10s, there could be 6 to 7 people in the WBC top 10 that are not in the WBO top 10. Maybe even, I mean, you never really know when it comes to that. So it's quite difficult to keep track of that.
Absolutely. And like I said, that's our two topics discussed. We've gone through pretty much everything there. One guest to bring in. That guest is going to be the former IBF Bantamweight World Champion Randy Caballero. So I'll bring him in just a moment. But before we bring him in, Hasim, I just want to thank you once again. I think this is probably 5 or 6 in a row we've done now. I'm always grateful for your time and just chopping up and discussing these topics. I'm always grateful to be here. Yeah, just chopping up and discussing these topics is extremely interesting, not just for myself, but for our listeners as well. There's been some good feedback. So, yeah, just before I let you go, once again, if you want to sign off with a message, Hasim, you're free to do so.
I just want to wish all the Muslims around the world Ramadan Mubarak. Stay strong in this Ramadan. Stay safe. I want to thank everybody for continuing to support all your followers. I'm trying to get my followers up. I'm trying to hit 2,000 on Twitter. So if you guys can help me, follow me on Twitter @_Hasim Jr. I'm trying to hit 4,000 followers on Instagram. So @_JR is my handle. And any support you guys could do with the follow, with the comment, it's all appreciated. I want to thank God. I want to thank my family. I want to thank my sports marketing team, BDEF, the best sports marketing team in the world. And outside of that, man, you guys be safe, stay away from people, and continue to practice good hygiene and take care of yourselves. And we will open boxing back up. We're not going to let it die.
Absolutely, and it's already great to see a couple of boxing events, with the right safety precautions actually going on. Obviously, there was a card the other weekend in Nicaragua, I believe it was, and there's going to be a card coming up in Mexico. I think it's about mid-May. Former IBF super welterweight, former world champion Carlos Molina's got his own boxing event. He's going to be promoting and boxing on the bill in Mexico in May, so that's another one to look forward to. But anyway, that's everything. Like I say, it's now time to welcome our sole guest on this week's podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the former IBF Bantamweight World Champion. It is, of course, Mr. Randy Caballero. Randy, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you having me on the show.
Absolutely, my pleasure, believe me. So, first question, Randy. What's your earliest memory of throwing a punch or putting on a pair of gloves?
Ah, man, growing up is all boxing, man. My dad came from Nicaragua, and when he came over here, he was boxing in the gym, and he had my older brother, then had me. And as I grew up, man, it's always me and my brother always fighting. We would always put my dad's boxing shoes on, go in the living room, big old shoes, and me and my brother just going at it with each other. And my brother was always bigger than me, so he would always beat me up. And he just toughened me up from there, man. And just growing up around boxing, I fell in love with the passion, the love of the sport. You know, seeing my brother was a beast inside the ring, man. My brother would hurt people, you know, with just one hit, and that's all. I was like, man, I want to be like my brother. You know, unfortunately, my brother, you know, took a different route, never kept boxing, but I followed through with it and just kept going, man. And luckily, I've got to travel around, you know, a couple places around the world, and as well capture a world title that, you know, most fighters won't be able to say. I am grateful and thank God for everybody that was on my side. My team got me to win a world title.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, you've got a real history of boxing in your family. Obviously, you mentioned your father there, you mentioned your older brother, and of course your two younger brothers as well. It really runs through the family. You boxed as an amateur. You were a very good amateur. I believe you had around about 180 fights, if I'm not mistaken. What was your highlight moment in the amateurs?
Like I said, I got to travel, done a lot of things in the sport of boxing. You know, but one big memory I'll never forget is when I turned under 19. It was fought for the under 19s, and in that final fight was a very tough fight because I was fighting a guy that was the hometown of where the tournament was at, and that was when they first started doing the scorecards where the corner can see the score. So every time I went back to the corner, everybody was yelling, telling me like, "Hey, you're down, you're not winning." You know, and I was like, shoot, man, I gotta figure out what to do. So every round came, I pushed him more. And the last round, I hit him with a solid punch, and he had like fell back a little bit, and I hear my team run. So I start moving, trying to get away, and the referee stopped, said, "You got to box," and I said, "Forget that, man. I'm gonna try to get away." And understand, the under 19, that's when, you know, we were younger. You know, don't make no money. They were giving the champion $1,000. So I was like, oh my gosh, this is it. So, you know, I pushed it through, man. I was trying to get away, and the referee looks at me and tells me, "Hey, you got to throw punches." And at that time I was trapped in the corner, right in the rope. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna stand here and just bang with this guy then. So I stood there and just started swinging, boom, boom, boom. The bell rang, and I turned to and like I said again, the corner can see the scorecard. So by that time, when that bell rang, my dad already knew I won. So I turned over and I looked, and I see my dad just jump up like with so much joy. And I just like ran up to him, gave a big old hug, and I was like, "No, we did it." But I was thinking about, man, that money is mine.
I love hearing stories like that. You know, everyone has their own unique story, and that's an excellent
story.
Oh,
definitely.
Did you, because like I say, you had loads of fights in the amateurs. Did you box anyone in the amateurs who went on to become a successful pro, a big name perhaps?
I think, I did fight Frankie Gomez.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if you remember Frankie Gomez.
Yeah, he's another guy who just disappeared.
Disappeared. Yeah, man. And I actually grew up with him. I believe we did fight. Who else is? Roman. I fought Daniel Roman.
Yeah.
The IBF. He has the IBF.
He just lost it in his last fight, but yeah.
Oh, he just lost. Okay.
Yeah, he's a tremendous fighter as well. Yeah.
Great. Fought him, and then man, I grew up around Earl Spence. I didn't fight with him, but I grew up around him. You know, we went to, I believe, an international tournament together.
Yeah.
Man, there's just so many names. Glenn Tapia.
Yeah.
There's quite a few names, man. But like I said, man, I met so much different people. Got to live with so many different people, going through like training camps and stuff, man. It's just a great experience, man. I enjoyed every minute of it.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously, you know, the Olympics only come around once every 4 years. Sometimes the timing can just be all wrong for people. If I'm not mistaken, you were unable to attempt to qualify for the 2008 Beijing Olympic Games because you were too young at the time. Did you want to go to the Olympics as an amateur? Was it kind of, you know, sad to not have the chance to qualify?
Well, at the time, it did, because that's every fighter's dream, is to go to the Olympics and win gold medal. You know, Oscar did it. You got a lot of big name fighters that's done it. You know, Sugar Ray Leonard. We those are things we wanna do and accomplish that. And that was our first goal. You know, and unfortunately, stuff happens. You know, we can't go down the path. You know, you got to focus now. Okay, let's go turn pro. Let's move forward. Now, we didn't want to wait. I told my dad, you know what, I'm ready to go. Let's turn pro. And at that time, I was already sparring a lot of professional fighters, older guys. So my body was just in the feel of it. I was enjoying it. I was able to control inside the ring, and I just loved it because like I said, I got to spar Nonito. I was one of his head sparring partners, and I actually was not even pro at that time. And that's when I was sparring with him, it's kind of when I was like, you know what, I can do this, man. Sparring and fighting is two different things, but just the fact that how I felt with there, it's a mind thing. To me, boxing it's a mind thing. You let your mind control you, you're not gonna be able to do it. You gotta tell yourself every day, you're gonna keep pushing forward. You can do it, and I never gave up.
And I want to ask, where did the nickname El Matador come from? I saw it's obviously a real cool nickname. Is there a backstory to it, or was it just simply a nickname? Really?
No, definitely. At the gym, just the fact that, I love to mess around, move around the ring, make my fighters miss. El Matador, the Matador that messes with the bull, we're in the gym one time, and someone had said, hey, that's a cool name. We ran with that, and I loved it. It's just a random. I love the way it fits with my name, so we ran with that.
No, it's a cool nickname. And like I say, the pro debut began in March 2010 at the Commerce Casino in California against Gonzalo Nicolas. You knocked him out in one round. He never boxed again, by the way. After that, that was his only fight. Do you remember much about that fight at all? Looking back now, Randy.
Man, going back those moments, man, those are moments I'll never forget, man. My first 4 fights were actually all knockouts in the first round.
Yes. And,
those moments I enjoyed, especially that one. One thing that I'll never forget, right before I walked inside the ring, I don't know if you know who Julio Diaz is.
Of course. He's been on this show before, I'm sure.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Well, he was there at my fight, and he was standing right next to me, and he was like, he told me, he said, hey, because I want you to understand something. All these people that are here to support you. They're not inside that ring to help you. He goes, when you're inside that ring, it's killed or be killed. You have to go in there and you want to hurt them. Sad to say, but that's just the way it is, man. He goes, out here, forget about whoever's out here. Whoever's outside in the stadium, don't even think about they're here. Your main thing is to rip this guy's head off. And ever since then, that was my mindset every time I went inside the ring. And I always remember him telling me, that ever since then, like I said, every time I step in the ring, that's my mindset every time.
And you mentioned that you won your first 4 fights all by knockout in the first round. Then you went on to win the next 4 fights all on points, which is bizarre. And then, you won.
That reason was because that's when I had signed with Golden. After my 4 pro fights, the company I was with had, financial issues. From what I was told, they fell through or something with my management or whatever. They left. When I left them, I signed with Golden Boy. Well, originally I was first fighting at 118 in the beginning of my career, and I think when I got with Golden Boy, they had me in a weight class that wasn't even my weight class. I was fighting 123. I was fighting higher weights because they couldn't find nobody for me at a smaller weight, so I had to fight bigger. And that's when we had told him, hey, you know what? This is not my weight class. I got to go back down to 118. So we stayed 118, and that's how we won a world title.
Yeah. But no, I just thought it was a pretty cool statistic. 4 first-round KOs, then 4 wins on points, then you won your next 3.
Yeah, I seen that.
You won your next 3 after that by KO, then your next 3 after that all on points again. So it was quite a funny
There's
statistic.
a pattern. I seen that as well. Never told nobody, but yeah, it's weird how you seen that.
Now, let's jump forward, though, to January the 11th, 2013, the night you boxed Luis Maldonado at the Fantasy Springs Casino in Indio. Obviously, Maldonado being a 3-time world title challenger, he obviously had so much more professional experience than yourself at that stage. You were able to stop him in 4 rounds. What do you remember of that night, and what did you take from that win? That was a good name on your record at that time, I remember.
Oh, most definitely. When I stepped to him, stepping into the fight, I was very confident, knowing the fact that I had got to spar him before. I've sparred with him before, like I said, when I was an amateur. So I got the feeling of it, and I was like, you know what, pros are totally different. I said, this I can do. And I when they had said, hey, this is a guy, I was like, oh shit. He's a tough guy. He's a veteran. He knows how his tricks and trades inside the ring. He knows what he's doing. So he's able to do different things that I don't know what's inside the pros. different tricks and trades. So, it was a different feeling. And, fighting him, we're like, I was just confident. I knew I was able to control him and do what I wanted to do. And being the fact that the way I finished him makes it even better because no one did.
Yeah, like I said, a brilliant win. And, your performances seem to just keep getting better and better, really, after that. Because the fight after, you box Miguel Robles, you become the first man to stop him. After that, you box Jesus Cruz, and you become the first and last man to stop him. No one's ever knocked him out since then. And then, of course, after that is where you go on the road to Japan to fight Kohioba. Talk to me about that. What was that experience like for you, obviously, going out to a place like Japan where it's a totally different world out there?
It was, man. It was different because I didn't have my fan base. The fan base, when I walk into a stadium, I'm walking to the ring and everybody's just chanting my name, screaming, going crazy. When I fought a fantasy, I sold that place out. So it was just, everybody was just going crazy when I walked out. It was an amazing feeling. I go to someone else's home territory, nobody but my corner by my side. And it makes it a difference. Like, oh man, like I walk in and they're just clapping for me. I don't hear no screaming, no nothing. It's like, shit, it's just us against them. So it was a great experience. I love being there ahead of time. The people there were amazing. Like I said, I would even take a trip over there just to go and visit it because I enjoyed it. I loved it. And one thing I'll never forget from that fight is After the fight was over, we went to the locker room. I was changing up, and Kohioba came into the locker room, and he came to me and told me, but he had someone translate it, and he had looked at me in my eye, and he told me, he goes, you shattered my dreams of becoming a world champion. I could never fight again. I'm going to have to quit boxing. I don't know if he did quit, but they had said that he had quit after that. And like I said, that hits like, oh man, that's pretty messed up, And everybody has a dream to become a world champion, and for him to come and tell me like, hey, you shattered my dreams, and now you go win a world title.
Yeah, it's a strange one. He boxed one more time against a journeyman 5 months after the loss to you, but then that was it. He never boxed after that. Like I say, moving on from that, by the way, again, Kohioba, he'd been stopped once before. I think he was in the 11th round, so again, you stop him.
Very tough guy, man.
Yeah, tough
guy.
You stop him in 8 rounds, so the quickest man to stop him. Talking of tough guys, Stuart Hall, for me, one of the tough guys, especially at that weight. You had to travel once again in Monte Carlo, which is a tremendous place, by the way. A brilliant,
beautiful.
Place. But yeah,
Beautiful.
for the vacant IBF Bantamweight world title, talk us through that fight, the night that, of course, your childhood dreams came true, Randy.
Man, that is an experience that nobody can take that away from me. I got to travel to over there, and like I said, another one where none of my team was there. I had nobody, just my corner team. That's all that went with us, and very confident. I was ready to win a world title. All my dreams that I wanted to become world champion, I knew I was there. That's where I was at, and this is where I was going to get it. And we did everything we could. We pushed hard for that fight, and winning that world title against someone that is such a great fighter. I don't take anything away from him. He was tough. Came forward with everything he had. And when I had dropped him, I don't know if it was the first round when I dropped him. When he got back up, I knew, I was like, shit, it's gonna be a long night. So we just kept fighting, and when I got hit with the low blow, just all that was just boom, pushing forward. And I was like, God, I gotta get this. Keep pushing forward, and we pulled it off. And like I said, I didn't take nothing from him. He was a tough fighter. Gave me a run for my money, man. I had to, like I said, that's why I enjoy this title so much. Being the fact that yes, I'm a world champion. To me, I don't see it as that. To me, right now, what I see is the fact that everything I went to get to that point. I got to travel the world. I got to go through blood, sweat, and tears. All the effort I put inside the gym, like. All those is what means more to me than winning that world title. I wouldn't take anything back from everything I went through to get to that point.
Yeah, it sounds like it's very much been a whole journey thing rather than just a one night thing where you were labelled and the new. That hearing those three words.
Oh, definitely.
Definitely. I want to touch on the Stuart Hall fight because, like I said, it was a brilliant fight. I remember the knockdown where he kind of walked into a jab and then you followed up with a right over the top.
Yeah.
But Stuart Hall, I had him on the show a couple weeks ago, maybe 4 weeks ago, something like that. And one thing he said, I don't know if you're going to remember this, but he said that I think he spoke perhaps to your father or something like that after the fight, and I think someone had said to him that we really thought we were going to get you out of here in about 3 rounds because we watched your last fight and we thought it was going to be an easy night's work. That's what he recalled being said. Do you recall that at all?
Not at all. Well, I know stuff was said back and forth, but I don't remember what exactly was said back and forth. But like I said, I never took him for granted. I knew he was a tough guy. Hey, he was a world champion before. There was a reason he got to that point. And, that I wouldn't take that for granted. I'd take my hat off to him for that. I knew it was going to be tough, and I had to push it and do everything I can to get there. And like I said, that's what made me get that win.
And also another thing he said that, and this is quite a compliment actually, because he was a real tough guy. Obviously, went through his whole career never being stopped, and he boxed some good fighters. And I think he's only been down once in his whole career, and that was against you there. So one thing he said to me was that he said that he felt if he didn't train like a total animal for that fight, you would have probably got him out of there. Which I thought, there's no real reason for him to even come out and say that, but he said that, so that's testament to how much he rated you.
Yeah, no, and that I know for a fact. Because he had told me that he trained better and harder than he's ever trained ever, and like I said, you could see that. That's what I seen inside that ring that one time. I said he was a tough guy, came with everything, and made me work hard for that world title.
Yeah, for sure. And then obviously after the win, the excellent achievement that you managed to achieve, winning the world title, after that is where everything did seem to come crashing down. Help me get the timeline right, though. I believe you were out the ring for a while because I think you underwent surgery on your right foot. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, correct. Well, I had after the world title, going back in, after the weight thing, after losing the title on the scale, that happened, which I don't know how to explain that. I wish I had an explanation because I feel stupid saying it, because there's no right answer of what really happened. Going to bed, I was a pound over the night before, waking up 6 pounds over, not eating, drinking anything. It's really crazy. It hit me hard, and to lose the title like that, I felt really bad. But going through all that, and then after that, trying to get another fight. And then I think they were going to give me a fight with Negrete at Fantasy, and that's when I started having problems with my foot. Well, I've always had problems with my foot because I had a surgery before that, and then I'm confused. I've gone through so many surgeries now.
I think after the Stuart Hall fight, when
after the world title, after the world title, I did have surgery. I had surgery because they found a cyst in the heel of my foot.
Right.
They found the cyst, and then from there, getting back into it, I fought, and then I think I fought a couple fights after that. No,
I think you obviously won the world title. Then that's when you had the problem. I think you went through surgery in your right foot, the cyst. But then I think you'd sort of recovered from it, and that's when the Lee Haskins fight was set to take place, which obviously the whole weight thing happened. I'm not quite sure what happened after that, but I know you underwent surgery in between the...
Yeah, okay, yeah, so that was that surgery. Well, after the weight thing, I started getting another pain in my foot, and I dealt with it for a while. I was dealing with it, and then they offered me a fight with and I went through it too. I went through foot injuries, through problems with for the world title as well, but luckily it didn't affect me the way it has, with after everything happened. And, I went through all that and trying to get back, and I couldn't do it. I was just very painful. And then I was off of it. I didn't work on it. I didn't do nothing. I wasn't getting no pain anymore. And that's when they offered me the De La Hoya fight, Diego De La Hoya.
All right.
And
we'll come to that in just a sec, if you don't mind, Randy.
Okay.
That's fine. So, like I say, just to clear up, if anyone was a little bit confused on the timeline, after winning the world title, that's when Randy underwent the surgery on the right foot. Then he was back, set to take his first defense against Lee Haskins, obviously a mandatory. That was going to be on the Canelo Cotto undercard in Vegas.
Biggest big card, man. It was amazing event. I was excited, man.
I want to ask you, because obviously the fight fell through at the last minute like that. Do you feel like if you were able to have made the weight and boxed on a card like that with all the eyes on that event, that could have catapulted your career right up there?
Definitely, man. That could have changed my whole life, probably. Yeah. I'm not that I'm saying I don't love my life. I love my life to death. I wouldn't change for the world. But, I think it would have changed my life, in some sort, if I would have, because I knew I was more than 100% ready. I woke up that morning feeling like, like any other fight where I was ready to go. I was on weight, ready to make weight, ready to go eat. My mind was like, this is it. This is the moment right here. Because a lot of fighters, we look at, the weight, the scale is the first fight, anything can happen. You make weight, you feel good, and then you perform at your best. To me, every fighter's fighting the scale first, and then you go in and fight. But, that one I was well prepared. I was ready to go. Everything was just great. I felt good through the whole training camp. And then, from there, just woke up and my weight was just 6 pounds. And I was like, man, I wasn't going to give up. I said, I can't give up. Let's go push it. So we went downstairs. I jumped on the treadmill. I put a sauna, plastic on, everything like that. I start running. I say within maybe 10 minutes, my body was just drained. I couldn't run no more. I couldn't keep my body up no more. And I was like, man, what the heck? I told my dad, hey, you know what? Go upstairs to the room, turn all the heater on, all the hot water on, let the room get hot, and then we'll start shadowboxing a little bit. So we go back upstairs, and we start moving around. I was trying to move around. I put the gloves on, and he was trying to do the mitts. I couldn't lift my arms up. My arms were heavy, like I was carrying 30 pounds in my hands. Just I couldn't lift them. And I was like, man, what the heck's going on? I said, you know what? Let's just go back downstairs, go to the sauna, and we'll just sit in the sauna and drop as much as I can. Sat in the sauna. I was in the sauna for maybe 20, 30 minutes, maybe more. And I was just like, my body, no sweat. My mouth was completely dry, no more saliva in my mouth. I was trying to chew gum to spit just to lose anything I could. And I got to the point where I was, my brother was telling me that, cause I had my little brother next to me the whole time. And, he told me that he looked at me and I was just laying in the sauna room, just like shaking, shivering. And he's like, dude, are you all right? He kept trying to wake me up. Are you all right? And I'm good. And then I got to the point where I was like, you know what? And I can't. I got kids. I can't risk my life doing that. I said, I can't push no more. And so I decided, you know what? Let's just go through with it. Hey, whatever happened. I can't turn back and change it. And, they even gave me the option, don't show your face, kind of thing on the scale. I said, you know what? I'm at least going to show up, because I did. I trained hard. I trained very hard for that fight. Whatever happened after that, was out of my hands. I don't know what happened, but I had to face my fear and said, you know what? Because I think as I get older, I'm going to look at myself like I was a coward if I would have got on the scale and at least weighed myself. And people can say whatever they want. They can, talk shit that I didn't train right. I wasn't ready. I got the fame and I threw everything away. Like, I was in the top shape of my life for that fight. And, unfortunately that happened. I still told myself, I'm going to face it, get up on scale, and take all the criticism I got for it. I'll take it. It's not gonna bring me down. I still have to get back up and keep moving forward.
And like I say, it was obviously a bitterly disappointing way to lose a world title. Not just, I'm sure fans were quite upset and stuff, but obviously nowhere near as upset as yourself. Oh,
not at all, man. I kind of went through a lot after that, man. I came back from Vegas and I didn't want to see nobody. I didn't want to talk to nobody, man. It was just I rather you put me out on my feet than losing on the scale, man. That's the way I feel.
And if that fight would have actually took place, obviously Lee Haskins is a tricky customer, a southpaw. How do you think that fight would have gone?
That fight wouldn't have lasted long. I had figured him out already. I already got into his head already before that fight, but unfortunately it didn't happen. Nobody, like I said, nobody will ever know what would have really happened, because in boxing you can never tell. I can go and sit here and tell you, oh, I would have took him out in 3 rounds, because we don't know. I don't know how prepared he was for that fight that night. And, I was in the top shape of my life. I was ready to give it all I had, whether it was the first round or the last round I was going to get to. I was going to do whatever I can to win that fight, just to take my title back home.
And like I say, it was a shame that we didn't ever get to see the fight. But like I say, from that Hall fight where you won the belt, to your next fight, there was that 16-month gap because of all this. And when you did return, it was against Ruben Hernandez. Ruben Hernandez is still fighting now. He's the definition, really, of a tough Mexican. You were able to stop him. And, guys like Nonito Donaire couldn't get him out of there. Guys like Michael Conlon, who's making a big name for himself right now, couldn't get him out of there. You did. Tell us about that one.
I just, like I said, to me, my style is more of a breaking a fighter down. I probably don't hit that hard to put someone out in one punch, but my main goal is to just break you down physically, mentally, as every round goes down, just to break you down. And, I think, and that's what I did with him. I seen that, after I started hitting him, I knew, like, this guy's not going to take much. So just keep putting up the pressure, kept picking it up. And by the time I was able to stop him.
And again, after that, you were inactive for a little bit. You were out the ring for 13 months before returning against Jesus Ruiz. Obviously, you won unanimously, but the fight was quite close on the scorecards. And then, of course, came your final fight, which was against the then undefeated Diego De La Hoya. Obviously, you'd lose for the first time unanimously. Talk us through that fight. And I'm not trying to make any excuses for you, but on watching that fight, it didn't seem like the Randy Caballero we know in that ring.
Most definitely, man. I think, looking back at that, I wish I would have made a smarter decision. Like I said, I took that fight in not knowing how my foot was, because I was off of training. I wasn't training. I knew I could have beat him. I just know I've sparred him before. I know what kind of fighter he is. I've seen him fight. I just knew that fight was a good win for me. Being the fact that his good name, of who he is related to, I knew it was a great win. I said, I'll take this fight. Went into the fight, signed the contract, went into training camp, and I started getting problems with my foot. The whole training camp wasn't 100% training camp. Being the fact that I couldn't really spar 100%, I couldn't run 100%. But I knew I was still physically knowing that I could beat this guy. I was ready, and I was still sparring guys, and I was still able to go through with the pain that I had, but I was still getting calls like, hey, understand, like, this is a big fight, you can't let it go, you can't pull out now. So it's like, shit, I gotta push it through. Let's go. I can't give up. So, we kind of pushed it. We got through it. Getting to Vegas, I was great, feeling great. My body felt good. I made weight perfectly fine. I made weight before I even got to Vegas, and we got there about a couple of days before doing all the promotion and stuff. So, man, I felt good. I felt I was ready to go. Going through the promotion, things started kind of getting a little fishy. I just felt, me being pushed away a little bit. And I was like, whatever. Let's go. In the locker room, I had, whatever. We're in the locker room getting ready. And all of a sudden, maybe 10, 15 minutes, I had my gloves on, 10, 15 minutes, big argument goes on to my locker room between Golden Boy and my team, and things got heated or whatever, and I was just frustrated, pissed or whatever on a lot of things, and that's when I had, got mad. I was like, what, get the fuck out of my locker room. So they kind of left, and I was already heated from all that, all that emotions going on, so I kind of walked into the fight lost. Like, I wasn't even paying attention to the fight. And like I tell my dad, I don't even remember, anything. Like, I don't remember anything my dad telling me. Usually I can hear my corner. I don't remember anything from that. And I haven't gone down that memory lane. Like I said, people ask me, have you seen a fight? I haven't even seen it. All I remember is me stumbling everywhere, not myself. I just wasn't myself, was not there. And, I don't know how, if I got hit hard, I don't know what happened. Like I said, I wasn't there that night, and which it's sad. I wish I was, because it would have been a different outcome. But like I said, you live and learn. You go through stuff through this sport's a hard sport. People think that, it is just training, you're done. You're done with, boxing. It's not easy, man. We go through a lot of tear through our body, a lot of, damage outside the ring with business absence. It's just really, really crazy sport. And, like I said, I love the sport so much, and that's how I got to the business side. It was like, you kind of, don't have that same love for it anymore. And, I had to push myself to get that love back another way, which I did. And that's why I got to capture a world title. But through the time of boxing, man, it's a really bad sport. It's a dirty sport that, it's every man for himself in the sport, pretty much.
It seems kind of crazy to say, but you're definitely an underachiever in my opinion, because obviously that excellent amateur career, turning pro, going to Japan, going to Monte Carlo, beating the likes of Stuart Hall, and then the injuries that you were plagued with after that, and obviously this fight here, which was a very important fight at the time. Your mind was elsewhere. It's kind of an unfortunate way that period came to an end.
Definitely.
What have you made of Diego De La Hoya since that? Obviously, he's now racked up a loss. It was an unexpected loss. What have you made of his career since being yourself?
What I think with him, I don't know what end, if it was a business asset or just him personally, whatever issues, if he had any issues or whatever. But like I said, in his shoes, I mean, he had just beat a former world champion that didn't lose a world title, getting beat, undefeated, former world champion, off of a win like that. My mindset would have been like, hey, back to the gym, let's go get a world title. I want a world champion. That's what I want. I just beat, me, for instance. I just beat Randy, former world champion. Let's go get a world title. That would have been my mindset. Instead I heard, the team had a lot of issues, weight, not making weight, business issues or whatnot, and, just different stuff. And, like I said, they took a different toe in it. And then when they fought, if you're not taking anything away from Ronnie Rios, but, Ronnie, he fought a different Ronnie Rios. He fought a Ronnie Rios that was hungry, that came back, reset his mind. And, and I said it, watching that fight, aside from, all the things between me and Diego, that fight alone was hard for me to watch. And I tell everybody, aside from, the stuff that went on between me and him, through everything or whatever, that wasn't him. I don't think that was him that night. And the same thing for myself. When I fought Diego, I wasn't myself. And I seen that in him that night, that he didn't know where he was at. He had no control of his body. He was just completely gone. If you watch the fight, his face was just lost, getting hit with everything. Diego doesn't fight like that. He's not that kind of fighter. But, Ronnie Rios figured him out, broke him down, and beat him really bad.
Yeah.
And like I said, this sport, it's a live and learn sport. And I had a hard time watching that fight. Just the fact that I knew he wasn't there. It wasn't him that night. Whatever issues, he had on the outside or in the gym or whatever, it did affect him because, like I said, it wasn't him that night.
And like I say, since that Diego De La Hoya fight, it's almost been 3 years. We haven't seen you in a ring since then, but obviously you haven't officially retired or anything like that. What?
Not yet.
Not yet. And like I say, at the time you were 26. I think it was about a week before your 27th birthday. Even now, you're only 29. You're still a young man. What has happened in the time since that fight up till now?
Well, since all that happened, I actually had surgery after that fight. Dealt with that, got back on my feet. They finally figured out what was wrong with it, got back on my feet, and was ready to come back into the gym. Took everything off. I was able to run and everything. And then, like I said, I own a barbershop out here, and I took all my barbers out to the Boys and Girls Club to go get free haircuts. It was right before Christmas, and took them out there to go cut hair for free for the kids. And everybody was all done. We're all done cutting hair, and at the Boys and Girls Club is a basketball court. Hey, let's play a real quick game. I ended up spraining my other ankle, and that took a long time to heal, man. I want to say I was in pain for 5-6 months maybe, and that was painful. Like couldn't walk. It was really bad, and finally now it's a lot better. And like I said, I do still stay in shape, try to run as much, but being the fact that we can't really do much being with this coronavirus incident, it's not much we can do. But I would love to. I am dying to come back, but at this moment, I got to figure out what's right for myself. When I get back inside the gym, do I still have it? Is my mind can tell me I can tell myself, oh yeah, I can go and win another world title easy, but I got to see how my body feels, because I haven't gone in there. I sparred recently actually. I was dead tired because I haven't really done much, being the fact that my foot when I sprained it. But I love being inside the ring. I enjoy. It's a passion to be inside the ring. But like I said, if when I come to it, when I get back and the head movement, we're able to spar guys that, are really good quality, and I'm able to still move around and feel good inside, then yeah, most definitely I'll give it a try. But if I don't have it and my timing's off, then, I wouldn't risk my life, man. I got kids, I got, businesses. I live good. And so, I have so much love for the sport. I don't want to run away from it now.
And you mentioned there about some of the guys you've sparred. Obviously, during this interview, you've mentioned sparring the likes of Diego in the past, the likes of Nonito Donaire. What are some of the other big-name fighters that you've sparred over the years, Randy?
Man, I got to spar. I got to get inside the ring with Mikey Garcia.
Okay.
Which I was a smaller guy, but, it was me putting pressure on him, throwing punches while he, made me miss. Leo Santa Cruz, Abner Mares. Oh man, there's quite a few names and blank right now, but yeah, I've got to share the ring with so many great people, man, and even guys that are still coming up, I get to share the ring with, to know the different styles of each fighter that's in there, man. I just enjoy sharing the ring with people. I like to study people, and that's what I enjoy doing.
And in your professional career, who would you say was the best fighter you boxed?
Oh man, good question. Never really thought of it. I would say the one fight that, I'll never forget is my world title fight. Not because I won a world title, but like I said, what it took to got there, like all the stuff that I put my body through from when I was a little kid, starting my amateur career at 8 years old, getting to travel around the U.S., to get to see different places around the world, to got me to that moment in my life, and to capture a world title, a dream that every fighter wants to dream about, and I got to capture it. Like that's something I'll never forget, man. It's just a moment in my life that, man, I pushed it. I never gave up. And like I said, man, and someone that pushes it and never doubts himself, man, you can accomplish anything.
So was Stuart Hall the best fighter you ever boxed?
I would honestly have to say, yeah, man, because being the fact that, how tough he is, just coming forward, he never gave up. He gave me 12 tough rounds till the end of the bell. It was just a great experience, man. I loved enjoying, it was a former world champion, just came off of a loss of losing the world title, so, what better person to share the ring with a former world champion that, wasn't inactive. He's been active. So it was a great experience, man. I enjoyed it so much.
And what do you feel was your toughest professional fight?
I think in every fight has their different toughness in them, just because every style's different. Different styles make different fights, and I think, as in every fight I've had to go through, they were different toughness. Off the top of my head, I couldn't give you a name. But like I said, I've had my issues inside the ring differently in each fight. We all go through. You can't have a great night. I can stop somebody in the first round, but there's still something that you should have did and fixed in that fight. We all have our differences. Everybody's tough in every different way.
And would you say you've got any regrets at all about your pro career? If you could go back and change anything, would you go back and change anything? If so, what would that be?
Not at all, man. I have always told myself growing up, whatever I do it. I don't live in no regrets. I tell myself, whatever I go through, I went through them. I learned from them. Don't do them again if they're not choices you want to make. Everything I went through, it's a living learning process. Who knows what's right and what's wrong? In whatever I got put in front of me, I said, hey, let's do it. Never turn anything down. I took the opportunity for everything. And, you know, like I said, I wouldn't change anything. I can't say I regretted anything. I did everything I had to. Like I said, I captured a world title. I accomplished the top of the top for any fighter that grows up and wants to dream of. But, you know, like I said, I do think there's more that I can still accomplish. But I'm not going to look back and say, hey, you know, I could have won a world title. I did. So, you know, I like I said, I enjoyed every minute of it.
Yeah, that's the best answer. That's the way I like to look at life as well, having no regrets and learning from mistakes and past experiences. You mentioned that obviously you're running a barber shop now. It's called El Matador Cuts. What made you want to get into that?
At the point when I was younger, I was like, man, I got to invest my money in something. And I was at my barbershop where I was getting my haircut one time, and I heard the guys talking, and they were like, hey, we want to move shops. And one of my barber came up to me and said, hey, you have the money for it, right? Like, why don't you open it? It's a good investment. They kind of ran the numbers, you know, stuff like that. And I said, you know what? Let's do it. What I got to lose? So I said, let's run with it. So I started looking for shops. I looked for different locations. The mission, just trying to find places. Because I went into something I didn't know nothing about. Nothing. Just I talked to a group of guys where it was about, I think, 5 of them. And I was going to put 7 stations in there. I was going to run with 5 guys, and they were going to run my shop. They were going to help me run it. They were ready to go. I thought, me opening this shop, I had my 5 guys ready to go. I was going to make money right off the back. Got the location. I called the guys and said, hey, this is the location. What do you guys think? Oh, it's perfect. Let's go. We were ready to go. Started buying everything for the inside, the chairs, the stations, remodeling the whole place, you know, clean it up. Everything looked nice. Called them and said, hey, next week it's ready to go. You know what? We're not going to end up going with you. Wow. I said, what? What do you mean? Like, I opened a barbershop because you guys told me. Like, I invested money into this. Like, you're going to tell me you're not going to come after all? Nah, we just don't think it's right now. And I was like, oh, my gosh. So, me, sleepless nights, man. I didn't go to sleep, stress, trying to figure out what am I going to do? How am I going to run the shop? I don't have barbers. I don't know how to cut hair. I've never went to school for it. You know, I had to set a team that was going to move. What am I going to do now? I don't know what I'm going to do. So I start going and I start looking for barbers online, looking for different barbers, you know, trying to find good barbers, you know, someone that wasn't going to make my shop look bad, you know. So I went, found some, you know, kids that were going to school at the time. Brought them into the shop, started building the name, started promoting it. And that's when, at the time, I was fighting. So that was perfect promotion for me, man. I had the best promotion to promote something is I'm fighting. When I fight here at Fantasy, boom, that's big, man. It's local. It's perfect. So I ran with it. I promoted it. Shop started getting bigger. I ran through different barbers, having, you know, barbers that weren't ready to be barbers. You know, I just wanted a great place. You know, my idea of the shop too was a man cave, somewhere, you know, a guy can just get away from home, cut their hair and just enjoy it. Talk about, you know, just men stuff. Let off whatever's on your chest, let it out. You know, if you can't do it at home, you know, we got a pool table. We had, you know, video games console set up. You've got TVs. You know, it was just like I said, it's a man cave. It's a place to just go and relax. You know, and that's was my envision, and that's what it is still today. You know, we get guys to just go out just to hang out, you know, get a haircut, and they'll just hang out for a couple hours, play pool, you know, and it's a great environment, you know, but it wasn't easy, man. It's a tough business to go through. You know, it's great if you have, you know, the team that I have now, the best team I've ever had in years. You know, I've had this team for about, you know, going on a year, and, you know, it's just, you got to have that right team to make a business run, and the team I have now, you know, I wouldn't change it for the world, man.
No, that's excellent to hear. It's great that you've gone from that you know, the time where the barbers all left and didn't want to work for you, and now everything's going well. That's great to hear. Have you learned to cut hair yourself now or not?
No, man. I've had this shop for going on 6 years, and even my barbers tell me, dude, why don't you just learn how to cut hair? Like, you're always here. You're just bumming it with us hanging out. Like, why don't you learn how to cut hair? And, you know, I think I should, but, you know, I'm just, I don't know. I'm scared someone's going to get mad I cut their hair wrong or something. I'm going to have to knock them out right there in the chair. No, I'm playing.
If you knew how to cut hair right now during this coronavirus, you'd be more popular now than you was when you beat Stuart Hall.
Oh, man, of course I definitely would, man. I think everybody needs to check. I own a barbershop, and my barbers are you know, they are just home, you know, wanting to go back, eager to go back to work, man. They're dying to just go back to the shop because that's their second home. That's where they enjoy being, working, making money, just enjoying being there because they all joke around there. And I think it would be a better thing for me to do to go get my license to be a barber because it's just like I said, it's great money. Just talking to different people, and because like when I'm there, people just talk about different stuff about my career, different boxing. They just love, and that's what I love about barbershops. You go out there and that's what you want to talk about. Just talk about just men stuff, just stuff people like to do, man, and just conversate for hours there.
Yeah, like I say, that typical barbershop conversation, who would have won, prime Mike Tyson, prime Ali, but in your barbershop it's all about about Randy Caballero, which is what I really like. Just coming down to the last couple of questions, definitely. Randy. Obviously, you've made it clear you're definitely not ruling out a comeback, but as time goes on, obviously time goes on, you become more rusty, whatever. With this coronavirus thing, it's like the worst thing possible that can happen if you're still undecided on what you're going to do. In your head, have you got any kind of cut-off point where you're going to say, no, it's been too long now, forget it? Like, how much longer are you giving yourself to make up the big decision, I guess, the big decision?
Well, once I get back, I being the fact the gym is not even open, nobody can go to the gym. With everything going on, like I said, I still stay in shape. I'm still moving around, not 100%, sparring or anything because we can't really spar. But once I get back inside the gym, sparring, getting my body back to feeling, I'm not going to wait too long. Like I said, I've been out for a very long time already. How much more can my body take of being out? You got these young fighters that are coming up that are hungry, that are going to come with everything. My experience, it takes a toll too. So, I got a lot to take in consideration. So, when the time's right, I'll let it out. But to me, man, I don't want to leave the sport of boxing, even if it's not inside the ring. Just to be right there on the sideline commentating fights would be something big I want to start doing. I've gotten to do a couple with Golden Boy, well, quite a few actually. And I just enjoy it. Just enjoy being there, talking about boxing. Talking about the fight as it goes on. It's a great feeling. I enjoy it.
And I'm going to put you on the spot a tiny bit here, but this is a question we like to ask to everyone that we speak to from overseas. The UK listeners love to hear the answer to this question. Who's your favourite UK fighter? It can be of any era. It can be a guy that's retired 100 years ago, any era. Who springs to mind when I ask your favourite fighter from the UK?
The first one that probably always runs to my head would be Ricky Hatton.
Oh, yeah.
Just a tough guy, man. Is a great fighter. I just love watching him fight because he just gave it his all, man. Just coming forward, just put on a fight. Love to please the fans, man. That's what he was about. He was about his people, and that's what I loved about watching him.
Yeah, very exciting fighter, and you're certainly right. He was a man of the people. And just finally,
that was my era when I was growing up with boxing. I got to see him, watch. That was the superstar then at the time.
And just finally, Randy, if you've got any closing words at all just before I let you go. Obviously, this interview will be mainly listened to guys here in the UK. I'm sure UK boxing fans are some of the best in the world. I'm sure you've probably interacted with many over the years. What's your message to your fans?
I have. I want to thank all my fan base out there in the UK, man. I appreciate all the love, support, from when I've traveled out there and Monte Carlo, just seeing so much of those people, whether it was good or bad. I enjoyed, like I said, you guys are part of my journey that I went through. I appreciate all the support that was there next to me. And, I would love, I know how much of a fan base you guys are about sports in general. I would even want to go out there and go to a soccer game because I just see the way things get. Even with boxing, soccer is so big. So, I appreciate all the support. Hopefully when I come back, I still get that same love and support.
You certainly will, I'm sure. Believe me, boxing misses you. The UK fans would love to have you back over here. If you do come to a soccer game, I'll definitely take you to one if you come back over to the UK, Randy. But listen, it's been a real...
Oh, man, don't tell me that because I'm going to take you up for that one, man.
It'll happen. It'll happen. Listen, we can do it. But listen, Randy, it's been a real pleasure speaking with you this week and going over your career. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope that we can catch up again real soon.
Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it.
Okay, and this wraps up episode 237 of the BoxHard Podcast. I've been your host, Joey Coastman. Hasim Jr. has been with me for the duration of the show. A special thank you to our sole guest on this week's podcast, the former IBF Bantamweight World Champion Randy Caballero. Remember, if you've got any topics you'd like us to discuss on next week's podcast, send them in to us on Twitter at BoxHard Podcast. But that's about everything from myself. Remember to stay safe, try to enjoy your weekend this weekend, people, and we shall see you all again next week.